Greetings. Welcome to the special video review of, Judge Dredd, and in-depth lore video of sorts. Some disclaimers before I start. I have actually obtained permission from the copyright holders of 2000 AD Judge Dredd comics to feature a total of 14 pages of artwork from the Judge Dredd series of different arcs. There's 7 different arcs, so I asked for permission to show 1 to 2 pages, so I'm going with 2, obviously, since I'm saying 14. Whenever I show an image, it's going to show that. Used with permission of Rebellion, copyright, Rebellion A/S, all rights reserved. That's right. I got legal copyright permission to do this. To feature these images, I got permission to do it. I'm also going to provide links in my video to the comics you will need to buy to be able to read these arcs I'll be talking about. First, I actually need to pull them up real quick. I want to go on 2018. I want to go here. And go all the way to page 3, I remember. Yeah. All right. So here we go. And let's see. All right. All right. So the links will be to the official website for 2000 AD. The reason for this is twofold. First reason being is that the copyright holders of 2000 AD and Judge Dredd have made it so on their own website, from their own store, you can buy PDF copies of their collections of the graphic novels of their comics, which is phenomenal for a lot of reasons. The reason this is a big deal for a PDF is because of the fact that these are DRM free. That means you don't need to be online to read these. You can put them on any device. And it's phenomenal. It's just fantastic that they did this. It's really great. Now, the thing is, it is in sterling pounds, if I'm saying that correctly, because they are a United Kingdom company. You might be wondering, how much does that come out to be? It's about 30 cents more once you convert it back into US dollars than it is on Amazon. Only 30 cents more. So I think it's like 13.30 something, so it's 13.60. So why wouldn't you pay 30 cents more to have a PDF free version that's a good version, that's a great version? So the one that I'll be talking about, anyways, the links will be to this website, to the different complete case files. The reason for that is because there is one exception, and I'll talk about that. The reason for that is because the complete case files, if you're getting into Judge Dredd, the complete case files is where you can stay safe and sound. You just need to go in chronological order. That's the truth of the matter. That's the heart of the matter. And it works really well. They collect all the stories of Judge Dredd into these, and they're in chronological order. All the arcs are in them. The only exception has been the Cursed Earth saga, and the reason for that is because of some copyright laws that were recently changed, so they had to re-release the Cursed Earth saga in its complete form, finally for the first time in a very, very long time. Anyways, so that's where the links will be to those different issues. So this is the first comic that features Judge Dredd. It's fairly straightforward. A guy is basically shooting out at the street, and he hurts the judge. And, well, this is where we first see Dredd. This is before he gets his iconic look that he has later on. That is established later on, but there are some things that do change. His full name is actually Joseph Dredd. He is a clone. He was created by John Wagner, the writer and artist Carlos Esquire. And he first appeared in 2000 AD in 1977. So coming up fairly soon on Judge Dredd's 40th anniversary, which is part of the reason I'm doing this video. So it's a fairly strict 8-4 comic, not really a major arc. Dredd does get the bad guy in the end. But it does establish he is a lawman. He's going to take care of these guys that just killed the judge. So that's that one. All right. So here's the next story I want to talk about. Judge Dredd's brother, Rico. So, the interesting thing about this is actually a one-shot comic in a lot of ways. It's not very long. It's fairly straightforward. These are the first 2 pages. we get a look at Dredd now. So a lot of events have happened in between this. One arc that happened a little bit before this was the Robot Wars, if I remember correctly. But the point of it is that this is actually one thing that Dredd actually he feels sad about. He feels regret for the decision he had to make in this situation. Rico was a judge. He was cloned from the same person as Judge Dredd. Basically, they were cloned at the same time. So they were twins. But instead of going the path that Dredd went, being honorable and whatnot, he went the crooked route. And Judge Dredd was actually the judge that arrested him, turned him in, and he got sent off to Titan. Now, that's what happens to crooked judges. You get sent to Titan, and what they do to you on Titan is they make it so you can survive in that atmosphere, and it changes your face and all these other things. It's not a pretty look what they do to you. So he wants revenge for this. The other thing is that Rico actually has a daughter who is the niece of Dredd. And in the end, he has to kill Rico. He does not want to. I want to make that clear. He didn't want to do it, but yeah. This story was written by Pat Mills and drawn by Mike McMahon. Mahone? Yeah, Mahone. It's probably the right way of saying it. In Prague 30, 2000 AD, 1977. So this is after a couple of events that happened in the Judge Dredd series. But yeah. And this quote right here, foreshadowing, before the night is out, one of us will have to die. That's one of the things I do like about the Judge Dredd series is that they do kind of clue you as to what is going to happen in the series. They don't pull the punches back. They aren't afraid to kill off characters or villains. Like, if this were DC or Marvel, they would have dragged this out forever. And they would have found a way to bring this guy back. But no. Rico has stayed dead forever. He's permanently gone from the Judge Dredd universe. He's never coming back. He was killed. It's over with. The only thing left of his legacy is his niece, or rather his daughter. And really the only reason I bring this up is to highlight the fact that even though Dredd is indeed symbolic of the law, even though he doesn't show emotion, that doesn't mean he doesn't have any. He does have emotions, he just is able to keep it in check so it doesn't interfere with his job. So that's all I have to say about the return of Rico. What is going on here? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So, the Cursed Earth Saga. Out of all the arcs that I read for Judge Dredd, this one is probably one of my favorites. Now, just so you know, this is actually from the Cursed Earth Saga Uncensored version, which was released in July. This is the PDF format version of it that I got from 2080's website. And you want to buy this one when you get to the point to read it in the complete edition. In the complete case file, volume 2, you want to also buy this alongside of it so that you can read this, or read the complete version of it. Now, the reason for that happening is because when they first re-released it, the copyright laws at the time were written in such a way that parody was not as well written as it is here in the United States of America. They were parodying McDonald's and Wendy's and the Green Giant in a couple of the stories that happened. Now this is a long story, just to give you an idea. 216 pages. Well, give or take. Anyways, I won't get in trouble for that. I'm fairly certain I won't. So, what is this about? This is about Judge Dredd getting a cure to Mega City 2. And he teams up with the best motorcycle driver there is. Who's a criminal. Who's been in the cursed land. So basically a guide. To go with him. This story is epic. The amount of events that have happened in this story are just awe-inspiring in a lot of ways. You meet a lot of cool characters along the journey. Like you meet a human-sized anteater that can talk, and there's an alien and becomes friends with Dredd. And it's kind of interesting, the relationship Dredd develops with him. Basically, when Dredd meets that anteater character, finds him in captivity, and the anteater basically comes out and asks him to help him. And basically, the anteater alien is in slavery. And Dredd, he decides he's going to do something about it. He's like, I cannot turn away from this. I have to do something about this. And so he does. A lot of sacrifices are made along the way. A lot of people die in this journey that Judge Dredd goes on. He actually, that's actually right there. That's what they travel in throughout the entire saga for the most part, till near the end. basically they're getting a cure to the virus, to a virus that is spreading throughout Megacity 2. If they don't get it to them, Megacity 2 is going to be kaput. So it's very important that they go and do that. Now, Dredd does succeed, but the sacrifices that he has to make along the way, the pain he goes through, the drama, the events, it's just... It lasts a while. This would actually be something that would be really hard to capture in a movie. If they were to ever consider making something about this, they would have to make it into like a mini series almost, just to be able to cover the breadth and the width of it, just because of how much stuff happens throughout the Cursed Earth saga. Like, there's a reason it's called the Cursed Earth saga. And the interesting thing is, as a result of Judge Dredd being on this, he's able to help with an event that happens back in Mega City 1 when he returns. And that event is called the day... that next arc is called The Day Law Died. The Day Law Died. So, here Judge Dredd is back from this gives us a preview as to what's going to happen. This is reflecting back, just to make things clear. So here, Dredd is on trial for a murder. Or rather, he's on trial for a murder. And the guy who's yelling at him is Judge Cal. And holy crap, Judge Cal is crazy. You're wondering, Cal, what is that short for? Caligula? Ever heard that name before? In history? A madman? Yep. This guy, what ends up happening is he has his men that are loyal to him kill the chief judge. And it ends up being Judge Dredd versus him. But the thing is, he's also hypnotized through subliminal messaging the rest of the judges. So Dredd is pretty much alone. And the reason Judge Dredd didn't have this hypnotism happen to him is because of the fact that he was in the Cursed Earth. He was dealing with the Cursed Earth while this was happening. And this name right here, Brian Boland. I wonder where I've heard that name before. Well, that name is the very same Brian Boland who did Batman the Killing Joke. Same artist. This is his artwork right here. This is actually where you get Judge Dredd's definitive look. Pretty much everyone after Boland followed his guideline. This is what Dredd looks like pretty much from now on. Um, Bolin actually made this happen, if I remember correctly. I may be misremembering things, but I'm fairly certain it was him. This last 12 issues, it's a fairly straightforward, simple story. Dredd against this madman. This madman ends up having his fish being named a judge that everyone has to listen to. So yeah, this guy's off his rocker. He is insane. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about The Day the Law Died. Fairly straightforward, very enjoyable read, beautiful artwork. Yeah, Walter. Walter the robot. Or as he says, Wobot. With a W. Yeah. On to yeah. Fairly straightforward. Very enjoyable read though. Really like the artwork on this one, and I like how crazy this guy gets and how Dredd's just like, I'm gonna fight against this. What an iconic villain. And a very unique look too. This is the first time we ever meet Judge Dredd. Was this the first encounter with him? And here are the people that were involved with it. But yeah. So what is the story behind Judge Dredd? If you don't know about the Dark Judges, which... well, Judge Dredd is from a parallel dimension to Dredd's dimension. And their judges decided that life itself was a crime. So they went about killing everything. And since they succeeded, they've now come to Dredd's universe to continue their work. Or at least Death has at this point. We don't know about the other Dark Judges just yet. But that's beside the point. Is that also the first time we meet Judge Anderson as well? And you may be thinking to yourself, if you know nothing about the story, so Dredd beats Death, right? Nope. Nope. He does not beat Death. It's actually Anderson, Judge Anderson. Judge Anderson is actually introduced to Judge Dredd. It's not her first appearance, but it's her first appearance in the Dredd comics, per se. And what happens is Death actually takes over her body, and she's fighting it, and she comes up with a plan of sorts, which involves a substance called it's spelled Boung, like bong, like, when a ball bounces, bong, like that. It's pretty much what that is. What thing does is basically creates a spirit around someone, allows them to bounce around. I know it sounds ridiculous, but yeah, it's actually a part of the canon of Judge Dredd universe. Anyways, what she does is she gets Dredd while she has hold over Death to throw that against her, so that as a result, her and Death are trapped forever inside the casing of that. Which is a noble sacrifice in a lot of ways. And for a while, that's pretty much what we, while people were reading this, that's the last anyone thought we were going to see of Death. A lot of people thought that was going to be the end, but it isn't. But we'll get into that later. This is actually a couple. Well, you can see Judge Death Part 1, so there's more than Part 1. But yeah, it's very well designed character. Black and white really works well for the Judge Dredd series. It creates this very unique, iconic look to it. It's a look I have grown to love, and I'm used to it. I mean, if you read manga, you're already used to reading in black and white, so this would be an easy step for you to take. So that's all I have to say about Judge Death and Judge Anderson at the moment. I'm hinting at something, aren't I? Yes, I am. Alright, so this is the next saga I wanted to talk about, or rather the next event I wanted to talk about. And it plays a fairly significant event in a lot of ways to a future event that actually happens. So this is known as the Judge Child arc. Judge Dredd is basically goes on a quest to find this kid who's supposed to be the person that saves Mega City 1 in the far future, based off of a vision of a psi-based judge. So Dredd gets to it and goes looking. But man, oh man, what he encounters along the way. He encounters obstacle after obstacle after obstacle. Eventually fights a character known as Mean Machine. Oh man, Mean Machine, what a character. If I remember correctly, a part of the Angel Gang, and they kidnap this kid, and man. So what happens in the end of this? Does he rescue the kid? The answer to that is, as you're reading it, and as he gets closer to the kid, you get hints that there's something not right with this kid. That he may, in fact, be evil. So when Judge Dredd finally sees him and sees the way the kid is manipulating things to make bad things happen, Judge Dredd decides, you know what? I'm going to leave you here. The kid is, of course, upset. He's like, no, you can't leave me. But he does. Judge Dredd literally leaves him on a planet far, far away and figures that's the end of it. But yeah, that's man, the Judge Child. Um, Once again, very well drawn, well paced story. But yeah, I mean, just look at the artwork here. It's nice and clean and iconic. Judge Dredd right there with his chin and his hat, his helmet, his badge. Man, so good. So good. Alright, so this is the last thing I'm going to be talking about when it comes to Judge Dredd. This is known as the Dark Judge's arc. This particular arc. It may say Judge Dredd Lives Part 1, but this is part of the Dark Judge's arc. So, as I mentioned last time when I was talking about Judge Death, Judge Anderson made the ultimate sacrifice, got herself encased in bong, bouncy thing, and they made a memorial for her as a result, putting her in the Hall of Justice of Heroes. Yeah, Grand Hall of Justice. Yep. And they even summarize things in case you don't know what's going on. And here we have Judge Anderson of Psi Division. Within her dwells the spirit of Judge Death, a hideous creature from a dimension where life is crime. Anderson was encased in a solid block of bong, the miracle plastic to trap the monster inside her. Yep. That sums things up nicely. You don't need a massive amount of recaps to explain that. Nope, you just need a sentence. Anyways. So what happens? This is where we meet Judge Death's brothers. Oh my goodness, yes. We meet his three brothers. And they basically, as a result of events that transpire, Anderson gets woken up. Well, Death escapes, Anderson gets woken up, and it ends up being Anderson with Judge Dredd fighting against the other guys. And in the end, you may ask once again, is it Judge Dredd that defeats them? The answer is, once again, nope. It's Anderson. Anderson is the one that ends up defeating the other judges, the Dark Judges, as a result of her psi abilities. They travel to their dimension, and they use all the people that were killed by those Dark Judges to defeat them. Well, Anderson does. It's pretty awesome when it happens. Not gonna lie, it was pretty awesome. It's only 4 issues to read for this story, but very well done, very well drawn, because, well, Brian Boland, really one of the best artists for Dredd comics, but pretty much all the artists for Dredd are very exceptional artists, in my opinion. But I have a bias when it comes to Dredd. So that's all I have to say about the Judge Dredd arcs and events that I wanted to cover. And now I We'll go to full screen, promote that, and done. Now, there were a lot of events that I could have talked about if I had wanted to. I will briefly mention a few. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah. All right. So, one of the other ones I wanted to talk about or mention was the Apocalypse War. Now, I didn't show that. I could have if I wanted to, but I decided not to because of reasons. Anyways. All right. Yeah. The reason that I just briefly wanted to mention that is because of the fact that if you want to read something that's really epic after reading the other stuff, read the Apocalypse War. Really what you need to do is you need to read Blockmania first and then read the Apocalypse War. Those are part of Judge Dredd, the complete case files 05. Just get that one and you'll have the whole thing. It is long. It is really long. Apocalypse War lasts a total of 25. Holy crap. I mean, that one is pretty awesome. That's one that I just wanted to briefly mention. And then the Judge Child comes into play again in the future in one of the later comics. I've only read the Complete Case Files volumes 1 through 8. I don't own all of them. I am planning to read all the Judge Dredd comics. I'm planning on getting all the Complete Case Files because I am a fan of the series. I've enjoyed what I've read so far, and I want to continue reading. I got into Judge Dredd very, very late. I mean, really late. I knew about it, I was aware of it, but I didn't really buy into it until much later due to, well, at the time I was into Marvel, I was into DC, but as I grew tired and wearied of the constant reboot and reshuffle, I was just like, I need consistency. I need respect for continuity. I need a comic that has consequences, where death is real. and permanent, which is what happens in the Judge Dredd comics. The interesting thing I find about the Judge Dredd comics is, even though he is in his 70s right now, from what I remember, is the fact that there is a very real possibility that when Judge Dredd dies, that'll be the end of Judge Dredd, the comic. Now, you may be wondering, will that be the end of the Dredd universe? The answer to that is no. There are actually a couple of different comics that are set in the Dredd universe, so it wouldn't be the end of the universe. The lore is established. There are other comics that are going on in the moment that could potentially pick up slack, and they may, who knows, maybe they'll decide to say have a different judge that will be not necessarily meant to replace Judge Dredd, but who knows what they'll plan to do. I really don't know what they'll plan to do if after Dredd dies, or when he dies. Because the thing is, they haven't rebooted, they haven't retconned, and I've respected them for that. I've really respected 2000 AD for doing that, for respecting the continuity that has been established already. And I like the fact that they reference things in the Judge Dredd comics. You notice that I talked about a substance called bong. I mean, that was issued in a brief, like, 1 or 2 issues, and then it was brought up later. I mean, I love that about this series, that they will make reference to things in past issues, and the way they reference it is they'll usually reference it in a way that if you decide to not go back and read it, you won't miss anything. You'll be able to keep reading regardless as a result. But yeah, that's part of the reason I love Judge Dredd. Is very well written character, very respectful character, probably some of the best written female protagonists as well. You might be wondering, what in the world am I talking about? This comic's about Judge Dredd. Yes, Judge Dredd is the star, but he works with several different female characters that he highly respects. One of the chief judges right now that I've been reading is actually a female judge. I can't remember her name off the top of my head at the moment. He also works with Judge Anderson, of course. He also works with Judge Hershey, if I remember her name correctly, as well. That's just to name a few. One of the judges he actually trains is actually a female judge. The interesting thing about that, when he is training her, is that he's actually rooting for her in his own inner dialogue that you're reading. You get a sense of how do I put it? You get a sense of the fact that even though Judge Dredd is just like, he's wearing this face of I'm always serious, he does have humanity. He does have emotions. He does care about people. And the respect he gives to this second judge he trains, actually, it might be the third. But anyways, this female judge he trains, the highest praise he gives her is when she performs an act, and the person's like, well, this is a rookie, they're not a judge. And Judge Dredd is just like, well, nope. She's a judge now. Which is his... I mean, if Judge Dredd says, you're a judge, your judge, because, yeah. And the funny thing about that is that at the end of it, you find out this character that's performed everything very well by the book, and you're kind of rooting for her yourself. Well, I was rooting for her while I was reading it. I'm like, I hope she makes it. I hope she makes it. At the end, she made it. I'm like, oh, good, she made it. I was worried she was gonna mess up, but she didn't. She never messed up, which is great. But anyway, at the end of it, she mentions that she actually read his book he wrote. It was her supplemental material, and she read it. So I just kind of found that as a funny aside. So yeah, that's part of the reason I love this series. I hope this review has been informative. I hope by showing you the artwork, it gives you an idea as to what you're getting into. Yes, the comic is in black and white. Get over it. Don't let that stop you from reading this series. It's very well written, very well drawn, very well done. You can get it in PDF format, DRM free from the publisher's own website, which I highly recommend you do if you decide to get into the series. Get the complete case files, except in the case of the Cursed Turf Saga. You want to buy the complete case files that goes with that. You also want to buy the uncensored version. There's no nudity in this series. There's just violence. There's no swearing. Just violence. The violence really isn't too bad. There is some disturbing imagery in there, and there is, but at the most, it's like if I were to give it a movie rating, it would be a PG-13 rating. So 13 and above, as far as where I'd be comfortable recommending it. But yeah, very, very well done overall. One of my favorite series of all time is currently one of the few comics that I'm reading at the moment. And that should tell you something. I'm done with DC. I'm done with Marvel. I'm never going back to them. Ever. I'm not joking. I'm not kidding. I'm done with them. They no longer meet my standard anymore. When it comes to arcs, Dredd has destroyed practically every single arc I've ever read when it comes to DC and Marvel. I'm saying for me, personally. That doesn't mean there aren't good stories over there. It just means I want nothing to do with DC and Marvel anymore as far as reading them goes. But yeah, that's the Judge Dredd review. A review, a little bit of lore special. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had fun. You might be wondering, am I going to do a video review of Dredd the movie? The answer to that is no. The reason for that is because I believe enough praise has been said for Dredd the movie that I don't need to cover it at all. It respects the series. It does a very good representation. It's not a perfect film by any stretch of the imagination, but man, it is a well done film. My only major complaint is the Blu-ray transfer is not that good. That's my only complaint against the movie, is the Blu-ray is not that good of a transfer. But yeah, depending on how this video does, you may be wondering, am I going to show more Judge Dredd stories and artwork or Judge Anderson? The answer to that is no. This was just meant to be a one-off, one-time deal. I got legal permission before I showed the pages. I wanted to make sure I had that. Then it didn't take too long to do, but I wanted to make sure that was squared away before I even considered doing this. But now that that's out of the way, now that this video is over with, I'm just gonna go back to writing and reading in my free time. This was just meant to be an introduction into Judge Dredd, who he is. Here's some lore. Here are some of the highlight stories that I really enjoyed. And I hope it was enough to give you an idea as to what this series is like. Give you an idea as to what type of artwork you can expect, the arcs you can expect. Give you an idea as to who Dredd really is. That he's not just a machine, that he actually has actual emotion. You do get a sense as to who he is as you're reading the series. He does have evolution, he does have arcs, and he works with other characters. And just because he's in the comic, he's not necessarily the one that saves the day per se in the comic. So that's all there is to it. See you in the next video, whenever that may be.